and welcome to the 6 o'clock news on the 2nd of October. What is very autumnal, wet and windy and autumn-like. I hope you'll stayed in the warm and dry this afternoon. It's good to be with you again. In our headlines tonight, local motorists are being warned of delays on Abbotsbury Road as works start to remove a pedestrian crossing. Work is due to start on Monday, the October the 4th, for the removal of the crossing near to the turning to Holland Road, and will see temporary traffic lights used to control the traffic. The work is expected to take a week. It's one of a number of roadworks scheduled for next week, and we will catch up with some of the others in our traffic and travel section later. The removal of the Abbotsbury Road crossing comes after Dorset Council said the current usage no longer meets the criteria for a signalled controlled crossing in the location. Michael Kelly, who's president of Weymouth and Portland Access Group, said and objected to the council's plans for removal of the crossing, said the presence of a crossing near Holland Road has the effect of calming traffic speed in this densely populated commercial and residential area. Although only a pedestrian crossing, it assists cyclists wishing to access the northern end of the Rodwell Trail. It's submitted the removal of this crossing will have disproportionately high detrimental impact on people with disabilities, on elderly people and on people caring for young children. Councillor Ray Bryan, who's Dorset Council's portfolio holder for highways, travel and environment, said the council reviews all crossings when they reach their end of their serviceable life. And a survey of pedestrians and vehicles in this vicinity of the crossing was undertaken last year, and it was determined that the current usage no longer meets the criteria for a signal controlled crossing. Officers at Dorset Police are investigating an incident where a teenage boy was bitten by a dog in Weymouth and are appealing for anyone with information to come forward. The incident occurred at around 1:50 p.m. on Friday the 17th of September as the 13-year-old boy walked through an alleyway from Doncaster Road towards the Rodwell Trail. He walked past a man with a Rottweiler-type dog, which lurched towards him and bit the teenager on the arm. The bite caused a small wound, but the boy did not require hospital treatment. The man with the dog is described as white, around 5 feet inches tall, and of large build with a bald head and a snake tattoo above one ear. He was wearing a black or dark-collared t-shirt and used a black rope lead for the dog. Obviously, the police would like to speak to this gentleman, even if it's just to get his side of the story. Staying with Dorset Police, detectives investigating reported assault on a woman in Weymouth Town Centre are appealing for witnesses to come forward. At 11 p.m. on Friday the 24th of September, officers were called by members of the public to reports of an assault involving a man and a woman in the area of Alexander Gardens. A woman aged in her 20s sustained multiple fractures to her face and was taken to hospital for treatment. She has since been released from hospital. A search of the area was carried out by officers, and a 27-year-old man of no fixed abode, who is known to the victim, was arrested on suspicion of grievous bodily harm and has been released on police bail pending further inquiries. Police Sergeant Gareth Jones of Weymouth CID said, "We know the woman and man were in the area of the Esplanade and Alexander Gardens prior to the incident, and I'm appealing to anyone who saw what happened to please contact Dorset Police as they may be able to assist with the investigation." So if you know anything about the dog bite or the assault near Alexander Gardens, do get in touch with Dorset Police, either on their non-emergency number 101, or if you wish to contact them anonymously via the Crime Stoppers charity on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111. A controversial application for a housing development at a site off Verne Common Road on Portland has been approved. The application was for 2 4-bedroom units, 14 3-bedroom, 4 2-bed and 5 affordable 3-bedroom properties to be built on the Greenfield site. The site will be accessed off Verne Common Road on the eastern boundary with 3 tiers of housing with the homes stepped down the slope. The scheme also allows for 59 parking spaces and 22 garage spaces. The agreement is subject to the 5 homes being offered. The agreement is subject to 5 of the homes being offered for affordable rent and a financial contribution of $15,600 for grassland compensation and management for the local nature reserve, together with £59,250 contribution for affordable housing elsewhere. Residents had objected about the loss of the local open space, some of it used by children and dog walkers, with the rest as grazing for horses. Some claimed the new homes would create added pressure for already stretched local health services and add to traffic problems on the bendy road which leads up to the Verne prison. Councillor Nick Ireland said the application put into doubt the relevance of the Portland Neighbourhood Plan, which had been adopted earlier in the year. He said it offered no guidance on the site, although the area is outside the defined development area in the wider local area plan. He went on to say, "It seems to me that if you can build on this land with a brand new neighbourhood plan, what is the point of having a plan at all?" Councillor Weller said without an improvement in medical facilities on the island, she was not able to support any further housing for the island. She said the site would be a beautiful place to have a home with its views, but said it was unlikely that many local people would be able to afford to live there. Many of these homes will end up as second homes, she warned. The vote was cast and 5 were in favour and 3 against, so it was planned. What's mentioned in this planning application, an application for planning and development has also been submitted for a proposed skate park and parkour area at Weymouth Marsh. Weymouth Town Council plans to spend £350,000 on the proposal. And if, like me, you don't know what a parkour is, it's a free running area with obstacles for climbing, running and jumping. So it's an athletic and acrobatic discipline incorporating an aesthetic element, if you look at the dictionary definition. People in Dorset can now access free technical advice thanks to the expansion of the Dorset Council Volunteer Digital Champion Service. Now, we've heard about digital champions many times before, but it has expanded, so it's good news. I know many of our people who watch and listen to us have actually used digital champions. Since the COVID restrictions were lifted, the Council's volunteer digital champions have gradually resumed their face-to-face advice sessions. From this autumn, the volunteer champions are available, or will shortly be available, at 13 centres across Dorset, from Ferndown in the east to Bedminster in the west, and from Portland in the south to Gillingham in the north. And in addition, the Council's digital hotline phone service on 01305 221048 is now open 5 mornings a week for anyone who would like help over the telephone. The digital advice service at libraries and community centres is already providing a hit with residents. A local resident said she could now take more advantage of her iPad has to offer thanks to the help she received from digital champions at a session in her local library. She said, "I've had my iPad for 3 years and I could do the basic things such as searching the internet, sending emails and taking photos, but I wanted to know what else I could do, in particular connecting it up with other devices like my phone." Any residents who want to get to grips with technology can find volunteer digital champions locally. Now, the 3 places they're currently locally are at Portland Library, and that will start on the 7th of October, on the 1st and 3rd Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. At Weymouth Library every Tuesday, 2 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. and at Littlemore Library every Wednesday morning. If you're going to a face-to-face session, you need to book in advance by contacting the Digital Champions hotline on 01305 221048 or the library or community centre that they are at. And again, that number is operational in the morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, and you can book a face-to-face session or you can get help over the telephone if you prefer that. Safe Drive Stay Alive, which is a initiative by Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue on behalf of Dorset Road Safe, is returning to schools of Dorset to ensure its life-saving message still reaches young people. COVID-19 meant that the flagship road safety programme aimed at year 11 to 13 students had to be delivered digitally. Now that restrictions have lifted, schools once again have the option to view the presentation live. The presentation uses powerful personal testimony and video footage to make the audience aware of the tragedy and suffering caused by road traffic collisions. Firefighters, medics, police officers, bereaved parents and people who have been directly involved in such incidents recount their stories. Christine Sharma, Road Safety Manager for Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Service, said, "Our brave speakers are all local to our service area and have experienced the reality of road traffic collisions, whether as a member of the emergency services, as a victim, or as a parent who has lost a child. It is this reality that makes it so successful. We've learned and adapted a great deal over the last 12 or 18 months, incorporating more behaviour change theory and including tools to help empower young people to make the right choices, both as passengers and drivers. We're excited about returning to schools and adapting these to our live delivery." Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Service are always looking for partners and sponsors to help sustain the delivery and continue the life-changing messages within this scheme. If you want to find out more how you can help, you can contact Christine Sharma on 07771 594 981. So that's Christine Sharma, Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue, on 07771 594 981. And if you're a school and you'd like the programme to come into your school, you can book the roadshow by dropping an email to Hannah Lynch at Dorset and Wilts Fire and Rescue at hannah.lynch, that's Lynch, at dwfire.org.uk. That's hannah.lynch at dwfire.org.uk. Local drivers could face another week of delays as long queues at filling stations and the demand for fuel remains strong. This has come from Policing Minister Kit Malthouse. Mr Malthouse said that there needs to be an improvement in the situation in the coming days and that Boris Johnson stands ready to review matters if there is a deterioration. It follows a warning by the Petrol Retailers Association that filling stations were running out of fuel faster than they could be resupplied, with 1 in 4 forecourts having run dry. But what does this mean for those who have to drive to get to work? Because if you can't get fuel and you can't get to work, then this could be an issue for you. Well, Matt MacDonald, who's partner and expert employment solicitor at Shakespeare Martineau, has this week given advice to employers and employees. He said if it's feasible for employees to commute using alternative transport, then an employer can ask them to do so. If this results in the employees incurring additional costs or having to travel for longer, technically it isn't the employer's problem, as it's up to staff how they commute to and from work. However, some employers may choose to cover any extra costs incurred by employees. It's also worth bearing in mind that those employees who can work from home and presumably have done to a large extent over COVID will probably be expected to be allowed to do so again, at least in the short term. And this may be an alternative suitable way to avoid a difficult or expensive commute. It says employers should consider taking a pragmatic approach in this regard to ensure harmonious employee relations. Employers who choose to cover extra travel costs will largely be doing this to maintain goodwill rather than because of any legal obligation. The position is different to those employees driving for work, for example, those who have to visit patients or customers or clients. And for travel of that nature, the employer is much more involved and can't simply ask the employees to use alternative forms of transport and expect them to cover the extra cost. So, as we know, the crisis began after reports that a shortage of tanker drivers had led to a number of BP stations to close. This triggered a wave of media coverage and obviously panic buying by members of the public. Our message here from White Ridges TV is only go out and get fuel if you actually need it. There will be plenty of fuel around. There's no shortage of the fuel itself. It's just getting it to the stations. And if we allow the companies more time to refill the stations, then they'll soon get filled up again and we'll get back to normal. But also, please remember those who are expected to work and to look after us at times that things go wrong, like our police officers, paramedics, firemen, district nurses and doctors. who need to use their vehicles to get to us when things become horribly wrong. So please have some consideration for them at these times, because we would want them to be able to continue to offer their services to us. The Met Office, as you're probably aware, has issued a yellow weather warning for Dorset this weekend. A Met Office spokesperson said a spell of strong southerly winds is expected to affect some southern and eastern parts of England during Saturday afternoon and into the evening. Gusts are likely to reach 45 to 50 miles inland and 65 mile an hour along the exposed coast. The weather, which is actually happening now as we speak, is expected to last well into the evening. The Met Office has also said the UK could be hit by snow in a matter of weeks. Yes, snow in a matter of weeks. The weather across the UK continues to get worse with heavy rain and colder temperatures. But it could be set to get even colder, with meteorologists warning that many areas of the UK could be hit by snow in the next few weeks. Forecasters predict snow will fall as October falls into November on higher ground, meaning some could see a white Halloween. The snow warning is further evidence that Britain's warm spell is over, as temperatures are set to fall to average for autumn, and wind and rain is due to sweep the nations. So there we go, heavy rainfall expected, colder temperatures, wind, and possibly even snow. Wow, goodness, there we go. Also, finally, in our headlines this week, more good news for Weymouth Lifeboat. We've had some good news for Weymouth Lifeboat for several weeks. They've recently received a large donation. Oh, and the picture's not working, so I do apologise for that. From bequeathed in the will of Mrs. Jean Johnson. The station was visited by Mrs. Johnson's executors, a Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson, who handed over a cheque for, yes, listen to this, £235,000. Yes, £235,000. A similar amount was also donated to the Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance. Mrs. Stevenson said of Mrs. Johnson, Jean Patricia Johnson was born in London in 1929 as an only child. She married Michael. They never had any children of their own, however, children were always their love. Jean and Michael moved into the vicarage at Tollapecorum in 1983, which they bought from the church. Having shortly afterwards struggled with the loss of her husband, Mrs. Johnson was devastated and gradually withdrew from the local village community and became less mobile and more of a recluse. Eventually, after several falls and illnesses, she moved into a home, but revisited the village every year for her birthday. Chrissy Payne, Weymouth RNLI Lifeboat Station Management Group Chair, said it's a very special day for Weymouth Lifeboat Station to receive the presentation cheque from Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson for the executors of Mrs. Jean Johnson's bequest. Mrs. Johnson's gift entrusts our crews to use their skills, experience and courage to continue saving lives. The RNLI nationally are showing their appreciation of Mrs. Johnson's generous gift by adding her name to the decal on a new Shannon-class all-weather lifeboat, which will be stationed at Yarmouth and Galston. This will be our first legacy lifeboat and is due on service in the second half of 2022. Well, that ends our headlines for this week. Now, our first feature this week sees Janet Hall looking back at textile designer William Morris, who died 125 years ago this weekend. So here we go, over to Janet.
125 years ago, on the 3rd of October 1896, William Morris, British textile designer, died. He was best known for his association with the arts and crafts movement and for one very famous quote: "Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful." Morris was born in Walthamstow, East London, in 1834. He had a privileged childhood in Woldford Hall, a country house in Essex, as well as an inheritance large enough to mean he would never have to earn an income. time spent exploring local parklands and forests and churches, and an enthusiasm for stories of Walter Scott helped Morris develop an early affinity with the landscape. After school, Morris went to Oxford University to study for the church, and it was there that he met Edwin Burne-Jones, who introduced him to a group of students who became known as the Set, or the Brotherhood, and who enjoyed romantic stories of medieval chivalry and self-sacrifice. They also read books by John Ruskin and Charles Kingsley and Thomas Carlyle. In 1855, Morris and Burne-Jones realised that they weren't committed to the church, but wanted to become artists. Burne-Jones's connection with the artist Dante Gabriel Rossetti, a central figure in the Pre-Raphaelite group, soon led to Morris working with Rossetti as part of a team painting murals at the Oxford Union. While working in Oxford, Morris had a chance to meet with local stableman's daughter, Jane Burden, and they married and moved into Red House, a property that would be medieval in spirit and eventually able to accommodate more than one family to live and work cooperatively. In 1861, he set up his own interiors company, Morris, Marshall, Faulkner and Co. Everything was to be created by hand, a principle that set the company firmly against the mainstream focus on industrialised progress. In the late 1860s, two prestigious decorating commissions helped establish Morris, Marshall, Faulkner and Company's reputation. One for a new dining room at the South Kensington Museum and another in St James's Palace. During this period, Morris was also working on The Earthly Paradise, an epic poem with an anti-industrial message that established Morris as one of the foremost poets of his day. He was also busy producing his first wallpapers, whose designs were inspired by English gardens and hedgerows. Over the next decade, he continued to design at an impressive rate, with fabrics and wallpapers sold in the shop that Morris opened in Oxford Street in 1877, a new kind of all-under-one-roof experience. Towards the end of his career, Morris began to focus increasingly on his writing. In 1891, the same year that he turned down the Poet Laureateship after the death of Tennyson, Morris set up the Kelmscott Press. The books the press produced, eventually a total of 66, were printed and bound in medieval style, with Morris designing their typefaces, initial letters and borders. The most famous of these is an illustrated edition of the works of Geoffrey Chaucer, which was published in 1896, a few months before Morris's death. His designs are still enormously popular, and the chances are that you have something in your house which is either designed by William Morris or a replica of his work. Have a look. See you next week. Bye for now.
Well, that's very interesting. I know that we've actually got some mugs that look very like those ones in the picture that Janet's showed in that report on William Morris. So I should be having a look to see if it says anything about William Morris underneath on the bottom. Our second feature this week is from our reporter Lydia, who is looking on the ban on traditional halogen light bulbs that actually came into force yesterday. Did you know that? From yesterday, you cannot get halogen bulbs in the shops. You now have to buy LED bulbs. So Lydia's looking at that for us this week.
From yesterday, light bulbs that we have used in our homes for many years have been banned from sale. As part of the government's plan to tackle climate change, halogen bulbs can no longer be sold in the UK from the 1st of October, and customers will now have to buy LED-type bulbs. So why are halogen bulbs being banned? The ban on halogen light bulbs comes as part of a series of measures to address climate change. It is expected that the switch to LED bulbs will cut 1.26 million tons of CO2, which is the equivalent of removing more than 500,000 cars. The UK began phasing out halogen bulbs in 2018, with the government announcing in June that they would be pulled from shelves on the 1st of September this year. But this was updated to come into effect on the 1st of October. LED light bulbs are much more energy efficient, using 80% less power than halogen and fluorescent bulbs, making them much cheaper to run. The bulbs also last several years longer, meaning households will not have to replace them as frequently. A spokesperson for the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy said, "Phasing out inefficient, energy-intensive halogen light bulbs will cut 1.26 million tons of CO2. This one-month delay ensured these new requirements can be implemented effectively immediately once live." The government wants LED light bulbs to account for 85% of all bulbs sold by 2030. At the moment they only account for 2/3. Fluorescent lights will also be banned from sale in the UK, although this will not take effect until the 1st of September 2023. The ban will also include the sale of lighting fixtures with bulbs that cannot be replaced. While the ban on the sale of halogen bulbs will take effect from the 1st of October, households will not face a deadline to replace any existing bulbs in their home. Instead, they will be allowed to gradually replace any halogen bulbs they have in their home, as and when they run out. The Energy Saving Trust has previously estimated that it would cost the average household £100 per year to replace all halogen bulbs with LEDs. However, the costs of replacing them will pay off over time, as the switch could cut energy bills by more than £200 per year, according to Compare the Market research. When the ban was announced in June, Energy Minister Anne-Marie Trevelyan said, "We're phasing out old inefficient halogen bulbs for good, so we can move more quickly to longer-lasting LED bulbs, meaning less waste and a brighter and cleaner future for the UK. By helping ensure electrical appliances use less energy but perform just as well, we're saving households money on their bills and helping tackle climate change." The ban on halogen bulbs follows other energy-saving measures introduced in the UK to help tackle climate change. This includes a new right to repair law on electrical products, which came into effect in July, requiring companies to fix appliances including TVs, washing machines and fridges. It means electrical appliances can be more easily fixed, helping to tackle the 1.5 million tons of electrical waste generated in the UK each year. By making parts for repairs readily available, the lifespan of products will be extended by up to 10 years, avoiding having to throw appliances away prematurely, and cutting carbon emissions at the same time. Drivers are also being encouraged to use a more environmentally friendly fuel on forecourts as E10 replaced E5 as the standard petrol from September, and homeowners face a gas boiler ban from 2025 as part of efforts to introduce greener alternatives. Back to Gary in the studio.
Thank you, Lydia, very much there, and telling us all about the fact that halogen bulbs are out of the shops now and that we all have to buy LED bulbs, and the other changes on the cards in the years ahead. Moving on to our third feature this evening. Next Sunday sees the return of the Lions and Purbeck Motocross, Weymouth Beach Motocross. So our third feature this week looks ahead to next Sunday. It reminds us of what beach motocross is like, in the hope that maybe some of our viewers would like to go and visit it if they've not visited it before. Next weekend sees the return of a big popular event in Weymouth. Weymouth and Portland Lions Club, together with the Purbeck Motocross Club, are gearing up to stage the annual motocross event on Weymouth Beach after last year's event was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This high-flying extravaganza over humps and bumps will be held on Weymouth Beach next Sunday, October the 10th, with bikes entering the sands from 12 noon for practice laps. There will also be demonstrations on Saturday, the 9th of October, from 3 p.m. Weymouth Beach Motocross first started in 1984 and has been run every year since then, except for 2009 when the medical company didn't turn up, and 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. It's an event for all the family, and it's well worth a visit next Sunday in Weymouth. There will be 3 classes of riders taking part this year: expert, senior and junior, with each class having 2 races on the day. A few professional riders are also expected to take part. Although the event is free to watch, Weymouth and Portland Lions Club will be encouraging people attending to make a charitable donation. Programmes will also be available on the day, priced at £2 each, and can be purchased from any of the Lions stalls and members situated along the esplanade. Local Lion Ryan Hope, who's the event manager at Weymouth and Portland Lions Club, said, "This is an opportunity for us as a club to raise money for our charity fund, which we can then use for local charities throughout the year. There will also be several commercial and charity stalls along the esplanade with plenty of tasty street food vendors as well. We are hoping that this will be a safe event for all involved and would like to remind everyone to stay safe and remember hand, face and space while attending the event." Alf Stern, who is the chairman of Purbeck Motocross, told us, "We have more than 300 riders over 3 different categories expected this year, negotiating the usual sandy course of humps and bumps. We are the largest amateur event of its kind in the country, which isn't bad for a small club with about 10 active members." Local Lions president Kevin Brooks said, "We would like to thank all those businesses that have supported this event through advertising, Weymouth Town Council for supporting the event again this year, and We Are Weymouth for being our headline sponsor." We Are Weymouth have said they are delighted to support the motocross this year. It's one of Weymouth's annual sporting events, loved by the community and supported by a fabulous group of volunteers and long-standing members of the local Lions Club. The event is one of the most sought after and eagerly awaited events of Weymouth's tourist calendar. We Are Weymouth wanted to support this event, which attracts thousands of spectators and some of the best riders in the world, as it provides the business community with a magnificent opportunity to showcase themselves to the visitors arriving out of season. So don't forget, there are demonstrations on Saturday the 9th of October from 3 p.m. and the fun starts on Sunday, October the 10th, with bikes entering the Sounds at 12 noon for practice laps before the main event commences. There we go. That's Weymouth Beach Motocross next Sunday, the 10th of October. Well worth a visit. Let's hope they get some better weather than we've got this weekend. Won't be too good if it's incredibly wet and incredibly windy next weekend. So that takes us nicely on to see what's in the national weather forecast for the rest of this weekend, and we're over to Alex Deakin for this week's weather.
Welcome to your latest update from the Met Office. Some very lively weather again across the UK this weekend. Spells of heavy rain and some very strong winds. There are Met Office yellow warnings in place. Sunday overall looks a little brighter, better chance of seeing some sunny spells, but it'll still be fairly blustery for most of us. Now, the low pressure system heads out into the North Sea, but then, interestingly, perhaps intensifies further as it bends back up towards the Northern Isles. Look at the isobars pinching together there on Sunday. Across the Northern Isles, gusts of 60, possibly 70 miles an hour. And as well as those very strong winds, the heavy rain will move into eastern Scotland. Now, there is some uncertainty about the exact extent, depending on where that low really develops and intensifies. But through Saturday night and Sunday, very wet and windy across the far northeast. Elsewhere, the rain should scoot away from East Anglia and the southeast, bringing fine conditions for the London Marathon, for example. But there will be more showers then in western areas, and those showers will move eastwards through the day on a fairly brisk wind. The strongest winds, though, across the far northeast, and those potentially 70-mile-an-hour gusts across the Northern Isles. It will stay pretty wet across western Scotland. Elsewhere, I said, it's sunshine and showers, so generally a brighter day on Sunday, but not completely dry. The winds will still be very noticeable and bring a fresh feel, with temperatures generally around average 12 to maybe 17 or 18 across the southeast. As I said, lots going on. Still some uncertainty as that low is actually developing at the moment. So make sure you stay up to date with the warnings through the Met Office website or, of course, the app. And, of course, we'll keep you up to date hour by hour if you follow us on Twitter.
Thank you very much, Alex. And let's see what we've got in store locally for us. So this week, certainly starting off quite wet with some sunny spells developing after tomorrow. Much milder this week, but hopefully as the week goes on, it will get drier. But as Alex said, it's a very changeable situation. So do keep up to date with your weather forecast on the TV and radio and online. It's a developing situation. We're certainly into autumn and that windy October time that I'm not very au fait with. I don't like October and the wind, I have to say. Right, so moving on then to our traffic and travel. Firstly, on the trains. Great Western trains are running an amended timetable this week, again, particularly in the evenings, and amended times and some bus replacement services, and it will affect the Bristol to Weymouth service. So do check before you travel. There are no pre-notified works on South West trains affecting services from Weymouth this weekend or the week ahead, so that's good news. On the roadworks this week, Southern Gas Networks are in Goldcroft Road, Wessex Water in Southdown Road, Sudan Road, Melbury Road and Radipole Lane. Scottish and Southern are in Galway Road and Fairfield Road, and of course we've got Abbotsbury Road for the removal of that crossing we mentioned at the start of the programme. Other roadworks are Wessex Water and Portland Road, replacing a pipe with temporary lights will be in place. Works on Custom House Quay, and a 2-week closure of Nottington Lane begins with a diversion in place as well. And there will be a lane closure in place on the Weymouth Way next to the Manor Roundabout. So lots happening in the week ahead on our road. So only travel if you need to. Obviously save your fuel and don't go out unless you need to anyway there. So yes, not going to be a happy week on the roads. What about on our What's On then? On our What's On section, looking first at Weymouth Pavilion, we've got Dr. Richard Shepherd, Unnatural Causes, on Thursday this week, the 7th of October at 7:30. He's a forensic pathologist talking about things that he's seen and discovered over his years providing that service. So that's not for the faint-hearted, I think, that one. And then we've got the King of Pop, Navi, on next Sunday, the 10th of October at 7:30 at the Pavilion. Do give the box office a ring on 01305 783 225 for availability of tickets, etc. on those. Now, tomorrow, the Noth has got its really good all-day event for the family, their Science Festival, where they've got creepy crawlies, they've got Astronomical Society there, they've got fossil painting, Bournemouth University, Portland Museum, lots of things happening from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the whole family, with a focus on science and the family. On the 16th of October, they have got their poppy making workshop from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, pop along to their website for more details of what's coming up there. And of course, we've got the Beach Motocross next Sunday, 10th of October, and that will have some effect on the Esplanade and some of the roads in town, so watch out for that as well. And of course, on the 16th of October, the Weymouth Gin and Fizz Festival returns to the Pavilion. Okay, on to our film review, and this week's film is called No Sudden Move. It's available for digital download from October the 10th. It's from the director Steven Soderbergh, and it's set in 1954 Detroit. No Sudden Move centres on a group of small-time criminals who are hired to steal what they think is a simple document. When their plan goes horribly wrong, their search for who hired them and for what the ultimate purpose is weaves them through all echelons of race-torn, rapidly changing city. Kurt Goins, who is Cheadle, is down on his luck. Recently released from prison, Kurt is dogged by a gangster's missing codebook and his questionable history in the underbelly of Detroit's Afro-American crime syndicate. Approached by a shady go-between known only as Jones to do a babysitting job on the family of a low-level auto executive, Matt Wirtz, Kurt sees an opportunity to climb out of the hole he's in. But it's not that simple. Turns out it's a three-man job as Jones recruits two more petty criminals, Ronald Russo and Charlie Barnes, to sit with Matt's wife, Mary, and two kids in their middle-class neighbourhood while Matt plays the unlucky pawn for Jones's mysterious boss. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong, leading Kurt and Ronald through a maze of Detroit's mid-century criminal elite, vying for interest in an ever-growing scheme of complexity and danger involving competing figures of the local crime world. Their activity draws the attention of the state police, in particular Detective Joe Finney, who throws yet another monkey wrench in the works as he navigates the deceptions on both sides of the law, blurring the line between them. Well, there we go. So this is it. It's called Sudden Move, and it's available on the 10th of October for digital download.
You said a man want to see me.
Ali Albert.
He ain't coming in. What is he, white? Oh, boy. So what's the score?
We're sending a man that works in an office to pick something up. You are part of a babysitting team watching his family while he does it.
Good morning.
Everything is normal, except...
What do you want?
Is that something you'd say? Normal Monday?
I'm gonna shoot you right now.
Can I go home now?
Wait at the house after.
What do you mean after?
Right off of your
What is going on?
Come on, big guy.
Yeah, what are we doing?
We're following instructions. Are you helping me or are you not helping me?
No.
Thank you. Set up, man.
God called me, offering me $10,000 to turn you in. 15 for the white guy.
Think you're the only one that can make a move? I can make a move, too.
I have the keys. I like to listen to the radio.
I'm gonna shoot you right now.
Organized crime like the mob.
Well, I guess that's the $64,000 question, isn't it?
Knock you off of your feet.
It's been a long day. I'll put this over you so I can relax. Thank you.
You having a good time?
Bang, bang, bang. Knock you off of your feet.
So, how'd it go?
Take you home with me.
We had a little slip up at work.
I don't think that's the end of that.
Bang, 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 bang.
You chickened out. Oh.
I'm gonna shoot you right now.
The problem is you're not smart enough to know how not smart you are, which makes you unpredictable, which makes you untrustworthy.
Why are you doing this, man?
Because I'm going to get what's mine.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna punch you now, sir. I'm punching you. This is going to be a punch.
Boom, boom, boom.
There we go. That's No Sudden Move that's available from the 10th of October for digital download. Well, we're at the end of yet another programme, and it's time to draw things to a close. Just a reminder that our regular services at All Saints Church are 0800 tomorrow morning, Sunday, and at 9:30 as well, and St Edmund's Church at 11 o'clock. I'll be back with you shortly tonight for our quiz, starting at 7:30. We'll be going live about 7:15 for those that want to join, ready for a 7:30 start. And on Friday, we continue with our Year in Gardening with Clive Gray at 7 p.m. Remember that the news, the quiz programme, and our Year in Gardening is all available on Catch Up if you can't join us at our regular times. And of course, if you want to keep up with the news and events in the local area during the week, do follow our local radio stations, all community stations, all run by volunteers: Chesil Radio, Keep 106 and Air 107.2. They'll be very pleased to be providing you with local news and some of the other exciting programmes they have during the week. So it just leaves me to say good night. Hopefully you won't get blown away and too wet this weekend. Hopefully Sunday will dry up a bit and the sun will come out as we're promised, and hopefully the week won't be too bad. But I look forward to being with you again next Saturday at 6 o'clock. Good night, have a good week.